So today we're continuing Perek Mem Daled. We're on page 126, about halfway down the page. The first word on the line is an abbreviation, Kanal. We're holding V'anachas Ruach. The Alter Rebbe, in this Perek, the Alter Rebbe continues to speak about different meditations and paths to come to love Hashem. So I'm speaking to you because you're here, so that's it. That's the focus. So earlier in Perek Mem Gimel, the Alter Rebbe presented that there's Ava Rabba and Avas Olam. Avas Olam is a Avas Hashem that we attain love for Hashem by looking at the world and recognizing that Hashem is the creator of the world. The world is a beautiful world. We love the world. All the things that we appreciate, and we come to love Hashem. It's a very important part as a religious person to see the world as a beautiful place. In other words, the Basi Lagani idea is an important religious axiom. For someone who has no God, so we say, the world is this horrible, there's a Chazal.
It's a little horrible, some places.
Yeah, there's a Chazal that there's no day that its kololis are not worse than the day before. The curses of the day, So it's true. There's also such a position. In other words, Shlomo HaMelech, he's the same. He wrote Shir Hashirim and he wrote Koheles, and there's room for. But the idea is that ultimately the gift of life is the greatest gift. Right, and the Eibishter, more than that, is that Hashem, who created the world, is Chafetz Chesed. The purpose of creation, Teva Tov Lehitiv, is that Hashem, to do good, to be kind. There's a pasuk, right? Me'ite leiteitze harois. Bad things don't come out from Hashem. So, of course, we struggle with it and all these things. So that's Avas Olam. Then there's Ava Rabba. Ava Rabba is the word Rabba means great, grand. Grand means it's beyond our koiches. Essentially, it's a gift. Ava Rabba is Ava betanugim. Pleasure is from something that we have. The other Avas are an Ava of yearning. We want to be close to Hashem, but we're not. Ava Rabba is a pleasurable love, meaning we experience Hashem. And that's a gift, Avedas Matana, it's a gift Milmaila. So those are the two Avas that the Alter Rebbe spoke about at Perek Mem Gimel.
Experience Hashem, okay.
Yeah, and he says it's only for tzaddikim. Ava Rabba is for tzaddikim. Ava Betanugim is Ava tzaddikim. Tzaddikim Gedoyl, in other words, it's a tzaddik gomer. Perek Mem Daled, Alter Rebbe starts that he introduces additional Avas. And so he introduces three loves. One is the Ava of Nafshi Ivisicha. Hashem, you are my life. I love you because you are my life. In other words, a person's the meditation is, I love life. I love my life. My life, that's Hashem. So that's a path to coming to love Hashem. And then the other one was like the Ava of like a child, Kibra, the Ishtadl, before we get to that, Ki Ata Avinu, Hashem, you're our Father. Okay, so Nafshi Ivisicha and Ki Ata Avinu. So these two loves, you're our, right? We think about Hashem as our Father, the love that a child has to their father, and to. Now what the Alter Rebbe. I just want to, we spoke by Arichos last week about different aspects and how the Alter Rebbe lines them up. So, just a few things about these loves. The meditations of these different types of love, aren't about Gdulas Ein Sof Baruch Hu. We're not being mizbainin and mamala kol almin and seviv kol almin and right these different levels that we talk about in Chassidus. We're being mizbainin that Hashem is our Father. it's a different, and it's very personal. It's right. Or Hashem is my life. You know what? Who gave? In other words, the gift of life in me, my neshama. That's the Eibishter. Okay, and the Alter Rebbe, he brought from the Zohar. It says, "Nafshi ivisicha balayla." When we take life for granted, we don't love life. It's when we're in a precarious state, when we feel like we're going to lose life, when a person is sick, that's when we come to love it. So it says, "Nafshi ivisicha balayla." I love you. I yearn for you at night when there's darkness. Right? When I feel like there's something wrong in my connection. So balayla, what he said was that a person's love for Hashem pushes them like to get up early and to learn, to wake up. He brings from the Zohar, you wake up early. I love you, Hashem, so much. You're my life that I can't be with, I suffer withdrawal. I can't be so many hours not to learn Torah, not to be connected to you. And so the Alter Rebbe speaks about these two loves, and he explains that the loves, both of these loves, contain. I'm just thinking about all the different elements. First of all, the love of nafshi ivisicha. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. We're not reading inside. The love of nafshi ivisicha has a limit because it has to protect me. Hashem is my life, so He's not more precious than my life. He's as precious as my life.
What does ibiticha mean?
Like the word taiva, I desire you. Yeah. And the love of Ata Avinu is different, because we find that children, he brings from the Zohar, that children will do more for like they'll sacrifice of themselves for their parents. Yatir minafshe. Right? They'll give more. So the av of nafshi ivisicha is limited to how much self-preservation. The ava of Ata Avinu contains in it a sense of mesiras nefesh, like I'm going to go beyond. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is that the ava of that these avas, they're a hybrid. They're natural. Like I love my life, beteva I love my life, and I love my father, beteva I love my father. But they also contain a seichel element. There's a teva. They're an ava tivis, but they're also an ava sichlis, which we'll see. Okay? So right now, where we're up to in Tanya, where we're going to start inside, is v'hanachas ruach. A person is studying Torah. They're being mizbainen that Ata Avinu. And now they're serving Hashem, and they're doing mitzvahs, and they're learning Torah for Him. So the Alter Rebbe says, why? What's the idea? He says, because when a person learns Torah, it brings incredible joy to Hashem. Why is that? Because it's as if Hashem's child, it's as if Hashem's child was freed from captivity. We're in the world caught up in Gashmias, and then we go learn Torah. He says, let's see, V'anachas ruachu, k'moshel simchas hamelech, right, that's Hashem, mibnoi, sheba elov, who comes to him, betzeise mibeso asurim, right, betzeise, who he left prison canal. So that's one type of Avas Hashem, one way of viewing the joy of Ata Avinu. What's the joy? That Hashem is besimcha that I left Golus. I've been redeemed because I'm learning Torah. Or the opposite motion, that I did mitzvahs, and the whole purpose of creation is that Hashem should be in the Gashmias of the world. This is not about me being freed from prison. This is about me bringing Hashem into the world. I just created a dira b'tachtonim. I took physical objects and I made a mitzvah with them. In other words, I know what my Father wants, and I brought it to fruition. I actualized what He wants. Those are the two tenuas. So one is that the king is going to be in great simcha by his son being freed from prison, and that's one. And the second one is that dira b'tachtonim. So these two thoughts, these two processes are part of the Ava of Ata Avinu. Because we see Hashem as our Father and we want to make Him b'simcha by either leaving prison, right, freeing ourselves from the bondage of the world, or by bringing a dira b'tachtonim, by gifting Hashem with a dira b'tachtonim. Then the Alter Rebbe continues, V'hinei gam lebechinas nafshi ivisicha hanal. Also, the first love that we mentioned, that I love you, Hashem, because you are my life. Korev adavar ma'id lahitzia me'ahelem elagilui. It's easy. I was looking at one of the Sfarim on Tanya. He says, this is a calming phrase. Right? The Alter Rebbe is saying, don't worry. It's not so out of reach. We discussed last week that the Ava of Nafshi Ivisicha, in a certain sense, is harder to attain than the love of Ata Avinu. Because the love of our life is something we experience physically. Our own life we experience physically. To experience Hashem physically is like a stretch. He says, Karev Meid al Yedei, Hahergel Tamid Bepiv, by repeating again and again, Hashem is my life. And Veli Beishavin, in other words, that there's consistency in his intention, in his words, and in his actions. Says the Alter Rebbe, however, what happens if he struggles? There's the Darshanim who teach Tanya, they have different ways of interpreting what happens now. Rabbi Yoel speaks about it, and in other words, this last line, is it exclusive to the Ava of Nafshi Ivisicha? Is there something about the love that Hashem, you're my soul, that's hard, that it's not that easy to feel it? So he says, if he can't feel it, he could think about it, he could reflect, but it's not leading to a real emotion. Afal Pikain, still, you can still daven and learn lishma, learn and do mitzvahs, by describing, imagining in detail what it's like that Hashem is my, right? To use the power, the meditative power, not in an intellectual way, but in an emotional way. You understand what I'm saying? You with me? It's not meditation.
Slow. I need to fill in the steps.
Right. There's an intellectual meditation, right. And then there's an emotional. In other words, a fantasy isn't an intellectual pursuit. A fantasy is an emotional pursuit, right? I'm developing, broadening, deepening my yearning.
Well, this relates to the concept of the tubuna that we just had a few.
That he speaks about earlier. So that's also a very big discussion. Here he says that it's not. So he resists that Inyan of Tavuna. Yeah, he
Doesn't like that.
because the Alter Rebbe doesn't use the word Tivium here. There's an interesting change of the language that the Alter, and he speaks about it. The Alter Rebbe speaks about it. You understand what I mean about this?
If you can't accomplish it emotionally, at least you can reach it intellectually.
No, he's saying
Outside of the emotions.
I want you to describe it. Right? I want you to describe
Like this emotion would
Right.
be like what it really is like, what it's like if you were a better
that it's my life. What does it mean? Describe what it means. What is life? What is my life? How important is my life to me? What does it mean that Hashem is my life? Describe it.
It's a contemplation.
Right.
I guess to me it's like my life is not, is what I enjoy, is not walking by Prospect Park or walking, my life is learning.
Right. Okay. So he says it's Tziur Inyan Avazu. Describe this love. And I'll just share a little incident that happened for me today. Okay, so I ended up subbing in a class today. Okay, in a second grade.
Oh, wow.
You with me? I ended up subbing in a second grade. At the beginning of the year, I was sitting with the Rebbe, and we were talking about different ideas of what you could do in Birkas HaShachar. When you daven with the kids, different things. You could rotate, and then I said you could do songs. He's like, I don't know any songs. So I went to my son, a 6-year-old boy, and I said, would you sing together with, and I put my phone on, and we recorded Birkas HaShachar. Okay? And I came into the class today and we're saying brachas and everything is wonderful. And then it comes to Vahar of No. And the class starts singing the song that I remember that my son sang for me in the summertime. And what's the message of Vahar of No?
It's sweet and pleasant.
That V'ni anachnu v'tzetzainu. That us and our children will, right? So for me, I was very overwhelmed. Right? It's not a seichel. I wasn't experiencing an intellectual aha moment. Right? It was a tziur. It was you understand? It was a midah. It was an emotional description. Now we know who. Oh, shkoyach, come. You understand what I'm saying? It's not a seichel. It's not a brain exercise. It's fantasy. It's imagination. It's tziur. So the Alter Rebbe says, if you're mitzayer in your seichel, open up the idea of what it means that the Eibishter is my life, and do mitzvahs, and then machshava tova Hakadosh Baruch Hu mitzarfa chulu. Hashem will count it, even though it's not a real emotion; it's made up because it's your fantasy. Hashem will consider it as if you had a real emotion. Okay, now says the Alter Rebbe here. This comes to your question. Okay, v'hine. Page 126, the two dots, v'hine. Beis b'chines avos elu. These two avos, the ava of nafshi ivisicha, and the ava of ato avinu. Af shehein Yerusha lonu me'aviseinu. Even though we inherited them, that we didn't earn them. They're not completely our avodah. Ukemoi teva benafsheseinu. It's almost like it's natural. V'chein, so too, hayira haklula behen. The yira that's included. If Hashem is my father, I don't want to lose. Right? I don't want to lose contact. Shehi lira miliparek chas v'sholem. I don't want to be separated mimakar chayenu, either from my life, or avinu ha'amiti baruch hu, or I don't want to be separated from my true father. Afal Pikein, says the Alter Rebbe, nevertheless, einon nikrois b'shem dechilu urechimu tiviyim. They are not referred to as instinctive, natural love. Ella, only when are they? Ella, כשהם במויכי ומחשבתי לבד ותעלומais ליבוי. Only if they're only a thought. Ve'oz, when they're only a thought, Mekoimon, the place of the Ava V'yira and the mitzvahs that you fulfill, are b'yutzfiras diyatzira. Ulesham he mailis mohen, thank you. That's where they elevate the Torah and the mitzvahs abois machamoson ubisiboson. Avol, here what the Alter Rebbe says is like this. You ordinarily, when we talk about, like when he said in Perek Yud Ches, that a person has a natural love for Hashem, not to go against Hashem. We all inherited from Avram Avinu, there's an Ava Misuteres, right? There's an Ava Misuteres we all have. That Ava Misuteres, it always remains in Yetzirah. It never goes up to Elam Habriya. Why? Because what is it? What's the Hizbainunus? The Hizbainunus is, I'm a Jew. How could I go against Hashem? That's a Teva. I revealed it, I thought about it, but it's not, Seichel didn't give birth to anything. The only contribution is that I thought about it. But here, these emotions, that I should feel that Hashem is my life, that I should feel that Hashem is my life, requires brain power. And therefore, your brain is a partner in the revelation, and it's considered seicheldik midas. It's Eilam Habriya. Avol, let's take a look. Avol, seichel. Remember that the imagination part that he mentioned before is for someone that's not matzliach to get an emotion. He says if you're not matzliach, imagine. Huh? Yeah. So he says like this. Avol shehein biz galus libay nikra. You'll see. When they're revealed, Nikra Ru'usa de Liba, it's called the pintele of the heart, the Ratzin Shebelev, the Zayhar. Where do those mitzvahs go? The Yutzfir is the Bria. Ulasham he mailis he moyan ateiru va'amitzvahs habayis machamoson. He explains mipnei. She'itziyosam me'ahelam vehester alev al b'chinas gilui, for a person to feel about Hashem, that Hashem is our Father, to really feel it, to feel that the Eibishter is my life, be'emes, hi al yidei adas. It requires seichel. Utkiyas hamachshave b'chayzik, and v'yizbeidnus atzuma. It's not an easy path, like the Alter Rebbe was talking about in Perek Tezayin, to easily awaken this idea that I don't want to do the wrong thing. He says, no. This requires real serious thought. Yeah? Me'umka deliba yatir v'tadir be'ein seif baruch hu, in a very consistent way, eich hu chayenu mamash. In order to feel it, you really have to stick with it. Or v'avinu ha'amiti baruch hu, to say that Hashem is our Father, to truly be mizbainen, bariches. So therefore, umedaz it's no mashakasa b'tikunim. So now you're going to say, wait a second. If it's seichel, so seichel and midas, seichel is seichel. Seichel is the thought. This is really where's the what's the connection between the learning and the love? He says, which he's going to say in one line, is the heart. That Hashem is the source of all life. That's what Bina is. Bina liba, uba halev maven. Right? That the knowledge that we have, the information that we have, becomes that's how I truly act. It becomes real to me in such a way that that's how I live my life. It's not a quick fix. It's a true hisbaininus. What does it mean that the Eibishter is our life? V'lo yoid, elo shebeis bechinas avos elo anal. These two avos in klulis, they contain, like he started in the beginning of the Perek, min bechinas ava rabba ugdoilo. It also contains a super ava. That's a beli gvul ava. It's greater than. It's me'ula mitchilu urechimu sichliyim. Asher ha'ava, ava that's based on seichel, is nikra le'il b'shem avas olam. It's a limited ava. It's a finite ava, the ava that comes from the world. Masha'enkein ava that Hashem is my life, or that Hashem is my father, so I'm ready to do more than my life. Those are infinite. Those are much greater. And I just want to mention along this before we go to the next, where the Alter Rebbe goes back and turns the tables a little bit, is that we had a Fabrenga once with Rav Shlomo Zarchi when we were in yeshiva, and he started speaking about the Rebbe. And then, later on, we sat together, the friends that were there by the Fabrenga. We said, we never heard anyone speak with such love, that they have such love. Usually people have reverence for the Rebbe, they have respect for the Rebbe. But love, like that kind of love, it was like a whole new, you know what I mean? Like it was, it's like he describes, it's like, if you, right.
Not that word, but
It's like, I don't know how to describe this, but let's say you're, like for me as a child, if I was away from home for a long time and I would get a letter, handwritten letter, and then you recognize your parents' handwriting, right? There's some, you know what I mean? That it brings out a love in you.
tickles your heart.
There's something,
It's comforting.
there's,
Like every Dainikum we have picture of
yeah, but it could be mitzvahs hanoshim elumada. It could be, you're supposed to have a picture, so you have a picture. It could be by rote, I'm talking about a real. He's like when I look at a handwriting from the Rebbe, that's the reaction that I have. It's like looking at my father's handwriting. I have like I'm drawn such an emotional connection, a meshicha to the Rebbe.
But another example of the Rebbe when he says the king went very interesting place and brought you to your palace, your room.
Yeah.
It's also it should inspire love.
Yeah, there in Perek Mem Vav, starting Perek Mem Vav, it's a different. Just one idea there is that a person, the lower someone is, the more appreciate, right? The greater their appreciation, right? So that's a different. The Alter Rebbe, it's like a different angle. He's coming from a different angle. Here we're talking about these two loves. Hashem is my life. Hashem is my father. Either, so to experience godliness in that way. Anyway, I told the story before. It's just it was so impactful to me, the story, that because it really expresses this thing about this kid, this Holocaust survivor who saw the page. The Nazi was eating a sandwich wrapped in a page of the Shulchan Aruch. You heard the story? No? So there was a kid, his name was David Halivni. Rabbi David Halivni. He wrote many, many books and whatever it was. Him and Elie Wiesel, the same age, they grew up in Siget. He also grew up in Siget. There was a wealthy man in Boston.
Gate or Siget?
Siget.
Europe.
Siget in Europe.
In the border.
Hungary. Yeah. Yeah, so when he was a little kid, there was a gvir in Boston that was sending money for every daf Gemara that a kid learned by heart in the shtetl. He sent money. When he was 10 years old, he knew 200 dafim Gemara by heart. At 10 years old, he knew Baba Kama and Baba Metzia. Do you imagine? He says the SS took him away from the Gemara. He closed the book, and that was it. And they took him. He says that when he was in the camp, his job was that they were sharpening. So they were making weapons in a cave, so they had to also sharpen. So the dust that would come off, you can't do it in the cave. They would choke. So he was the runner that would take the stuff from inside, outside. Outside they would sharpen and polish whatever, and then he would bring it back inside. And he says on the way, there were always SS soldiers, which he never paid attention to them. They never bothered him. He just ran back and forth. He says one time he was running, and he noticed that a German is eating a sandwich wrapped in a daf,
Kosher.
wrapped in
Daf yomi or something.
in a Gemara, something. It looked a Jewish page. So he turned around. He already knew. He says he started learning Shulchan Aruch at like 8 years old. He started learning Smicha at 8 years old. He started learning. Anyway, it was a daf Gemara a daf Shulchan Aruch from Hilchos Shabbos. And he says the moment he saw it,
You went nuts.
he fell to his knees and he asked the guy to give him the page. And he says the guy gave it to him. It was dripping gravy and whatever it is. And then he says he took it and he went back to the camp. And that night everyone was sitting and memorizing and learning the one page. Anyway, there's a very powerful thing. He says, who's going to hold it? This page, right? Who's going to hold a page? You have to have somebody to volunteer to, right? So one Jew said, I'll hold it. Anyway, and then he says, about 8 months later, he saw the Jew. And he said, and he made a simon to him. And the guy said, right? It's, right. Then he says, whatever went, they took him to the gas chambers. He says, when they took him to the gas chambers, there's no more page. He says, if there's no Jew, there's no page. There's no, right? There's no daf. There's no Gemara. Without a Jew, there's no Gemara. So the incredible love, what it meant to him, a page. You know? Like today, you ask a kid, oh, how old are you? I want to buy you a set of chumashim. What kind of set do you want? It's like, I'm not going to use it. Don't borrow it. Don't buy it anyway. Right? I'm not. In other words, the incredible, that here, when we talk about Ato Avinu, that the Eibishter is our father, or that the Eibishter is our life, it means in such a real, present, it felt, sensed inyan. The Alter Rebbe says to get that kind of feeling, it requires serious hisbaininus. And that hisbaininus contains a super rational part. A person is like Meiser Nefesh to have that kind of Ava. Rak. So even though these Avas are fantastic, but they're not a meditation about Hashem. They're not about Gedulas Ein Sof Baruch Hu. They're not about Mamalik Kalalmin and Seviv Kalalmin and the Eses Spheres, it's not about that. It's about Hashem is my life. Says the Alter Rebbe Rak, She'afal Pikein, still, Tzorich Litroyach Besichlo, he says, you gotta learn Chassidus. You have to learn toil, lehasig or lehagia, gam lebchinas olam anal, avas olam. You have to also be mizbeinin in Hashem as the creator of the world, which is what Seviv and Mamali are all about. Haba, that ava is mehatvuna v'das b'gdulas Hashem. Because that ava recognizes how far, how tiny I am in the big picture. And therefore the yearning to come close to Hashem is like nothing else. It's a rish be'esh. It's an inquenchable thirst, a burning fire to be close to Hashem. K'dei lahagdil medoiras eish ha'ava b'rish be'esh v'shal heves aza, and a intense flame, v'lahav ha'oila hashamayma, right? A fire that reaches to the sky. Ad shemayim rabim lo yuchlu l'chabais, that no matter what your burdens are in the world, nothing can get in the way of that incredible ava. Unaharis lo yishtafu v'chulu. Says the Alter Rebbe, because this ava, even though it's from the world and even though it's limited, ki yesh yisrin umayla libchinas ava karish pe'esh v'shaleves aza. This type of ava, a person who has the ability to intellectually be mizbainin, a person who has the capacity in their neshama, that their neshama should experience elikus in such a way that it should get such a response. That's haba me'atvuna v'das b'dos ein sev baruch hu, has a yisrein, has an advantage al shtei bechinas ava anal kasher einon kerish pe'esh v'shalheves. If those loves are subdued, if those loves are just, and it has a maila ki yisrein u mailas azov ala kesav v'chudu, like gold over silver. So that fire, that rishpe, you developed it completely from scratch. And you attained such a level of love that it's burning, a flaming fire. That's an incredible advantage. Kamailas Azov. You didn't rely on a natural element. Oh, Hashem is like my father, I love my father. Hashem is like my life, I love my life. Like the Alter Rebbe will explain in Perek Nun, the Alter Rebbe will speak about this Maila of Zov ala Kesef. V'gam, says the Alter Rebbe, another advantage, this is the whole purpose why Hashem created the world. You know, right in the first Maimer of Samach Vov, he brings, why did Hashem create the world? That we should get to know Him. Leman das es kaved Hashem. That we should know Hashem's glory. Hashem created subjects. He created a zulas, that there should be a zulas that gets to know Him. V'yakar tiferes gedulasei. Ish kefi asher yuchal se'es. Every person to their ability. Kaveshakaso b'rayim mehem the parshas boy, that Hashem created the world, begin the yim yishtamoidun lei, so that we should get to know Him. That's why Hashem created the world. V'chulu ukanoida. One of the amazing things the Rebbe always speaks about, how the Rebbe Rashab was the Rambam of Chassidus. Right? Think about that first Maimer and Samach Vov. In the first Maimer, the Rebbe Rashab brings a series of reasons from the Mekubalim and Sfarim why Hashem created the world. He brings, let's say, Sheyizgalu Shleimus Keichosov, that in other words, you're strong, but you don't show anybody. You have to show how powerful you are. And then the other one is that begin the Yishtamoidun Lei, they should get to know Him. And then the last one is Dira B'tachtoinim, right? That in other words, that it's Afataiva Frekmenish Ken Kasha. That's the famous. So the Rebbe Rashab doesn't just shear the last conclusion. He goes through each one. He talks about the advantages and disadvantages, and logically what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. And then finally, when he comes to the end, you say, "Oh, it's not that the Medrash tells me that Hashem wanted to create, but it must be, because this reason is incomplete." And that reason is also incomplete. In other words, if it's that we should get to know Him, in Atzilus, in Bria, they know Him much more. The Malachim in Elam HaBria, they know Him much more.
We knew Him better before we were
right? So he goes through all these things. Then you say, oh, that's what the Rebbe is saying, that the Rebbe Rashab is like the Rambam of Hasidus. He's speaking from a logical place. He goes through. He doesn't just let you know. He doesn't say, "Oh, you should know that this is why Hashem." He doesn't know what are the pros, what are the cons, what are the holes in this shita, right? And so here the Alter Rebbe brings this part that the Eibishter created the world. What does the Eitz Chaim say? He brings from the Zohar that we should get to know Him. So it's v'yadaita ayoim, right? We have a mitzvah to know Hashem. So that's an advantage in the Avos Hashem. That's not Hashem, you're our Father. Hashem, you're my life. But rather, Hashem created the world, and through the world, I learn more and more about Him. I understand that there's Mamalik Olamin and there's Seviv. I understand that there's the source of Gvul and there's the source of Bli Gvul. I understand that there's what created the Tzura and there's what created the Chomer. There's the design of the world, and then there's the matter of the world, that it's a Gashmi. Every single Gashmi in the world is a Gashmi. A stone and a human being are both Gashmiyim. Right? They're both, and that's B'koyach Ha'ein Sof. Creation, something from nothing, that's B'koyach Ha'ein Sof. So all of these steps as part of the Hizbainus are why we're created. So it's easier to be mizbainin. So here in this Perek, the Alter Rebbe brought these two meditations, Chayenu and Avinu. It's easier. It also touches a very deep place. But on the other hand, the Avas Olam also has a great advantage, and every person should try to come to this level.
Exercise should be daily.
Daily
exercise.
Daily, yeah. So just to conclude with this, I was reading a letter of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe tells someone, you've been out of work for a certain amount of time, so surely you have lost interest in the world, like there's nothing pleasurable to you, and also to get discipline, to lock yourself down, to get disciplined is very difficult, but it's very necessary. And the Rebbe says basically that Hashem created us in order for what the Rebbe is saying is that in order for a person to be in a balanced state, the framework of work, like you have to be producing, you have to be in a system. You have to, and then the natural gifts of appreciating the world, loving life, like all these different things will only come out. In other words, once you move back from them, other unintended chesroinus come up that you lose.
Someone wants to go to college, Rebbe said something like this, because he was out of work, and then he wants to stay in the yeshiva to be saved.
Yeah, because
You was out of your work. The person wants to retire in college.
Yeah.
He's not going to work for you.
Because you were working,
You was outside of yeshiva.
so you have to stay in the working. So in other words, these, when we talk about appreciation for life, atavinu, chayenu, all these things, it requires a certain framework in which this, right at the beginning of the shir, I was saying that a difference in Yiddishkeit, life is a gift. Life is, we wake up in the morning and we say, Maidani. We don't wake up in the morning and say, the world is a terrible place. We say, oh, how terrible. Oh, Trump won the election. Oh, it's the word. Right, exactly. Right? We don't. Right? And it's a Yesoido Amunah. That Hashem is Teva Toiv Lehitiv. So, Chevra, we're going to finish a few minutes earlier today. Yashakoyach. I don't want to start Perek Mem Hey.